Welcome back to Division I Rejects. I'm your host, Kobe Manzo. I've said it before. I'll say it again. We're D1 Rejects, not D1R football tonight. Perhaps the greatest example of that. We're joined tonight by a man who is arguably the face of America's team. If you don't know who I'm talking about, get with it. Birmingham Southern, the baseball team. Their school officially closes its doors. The team says, screw it, we're still going to play. They keep going, win 11 of the 12 of their last games of the year, go on to the D3 World Series. We got Jackson Webster joining me here shortly to talk about the Cinderella story for the Panthers, his walk-off home run in the World Series against Randolph-Macon. A lot of great baseball talk on the pod tonight. Been going back and forth with next year, going into the 2024 season, 2025 respectively for different sports. Do we get a little bit more into the basketball realm, a little bit more into the baseball realm when it comes to our coverage of small school sports? I want to hear it from you guys. I certainly would like to, but hey, if you want this to be a football-only thing, that's your wish. You're the audience, right? But anyways, this is D1R 164. Like I said, I'm joined by Jackson Webster here shortly from over there at Birmingham Southern. A great story from those guys. Otherwise, in the small college football world, we got a new head coach in the RMAC over their Division II conference out west in the States that we will talk about, and an interesting hiring process that he went through at that certain institution. We've got another addition to the Frontier Conference in NAIA. You probably saw it out in our socials. Simpson football is coming back. They are joining the Frontier Conference as their 14th member, which has become a pretty powerful NAIA conference. Matt Schwaerzler, our NAIA insider, will join me for that portion of the conversation. And then finally, two, I guess, more fluff pieces to kind of close things out. How many players are still in the portal? I'll let you answer that and leave a moment there. Yep, think about it. I'll come back to that later on. We're going to talk about it. The number's pretty damn high, right? We'll talk about that. And finally, though, the coolest official visit content potentially ever in the history of visits in college athletics. USC is doing some ridiculous shit. We're going to cover it, take a look at it, see what other schools are doing across the country, and see what comes down to our smaller schools in that football realm. But as always, watch this episode on YouTube if you are. Use the bottom of that screen there. Timestamps, video chapters are all in the description. Fast forward to any part of the conversation you'd like to get to. If you're sick of hearing me blab, go right to Jackson, to Matt, whatever we're talking about. But don't forget about those timestamps. You can listen pretty much anywhere, though. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, you name it. Follow us on the socials. A lot of great stuff going on there, collaborating with some great accounts as well. But that'll be enough blabbing for me. Thank you all for tuning in. Let's get right into that first conversation. Join the show tonight, a man I am very excited to have join me. This guy, he was an integral part of a story and a team that has quickly become a favorite of everyone in the sports world. First baseman for the Birmingham Southern Panthers, Jackson Webster. What's up, man? So excited to get you on here tonight.
I appreciate it, man. I'm excited for this.
Dude, what a day for you. Just the fact that we're making this happen around midnight my time, but the world of just social media and connectedness, I might have just made that word up, but the fact that I've been following this story, obviously, but the fact that I can go on social media, follow you, throw you a message, and we get this thrown together in just a short amount of time is special, and I want to let you know I'm very appreciative that you're spending some time with me tonight, dude.
Well, I appreciate you spreading our story.
Hell yeah. And that's what I told you. I was like, I want someone on here to help me do it justice and talking about you guys, and let's talk about you. A hell of a run for you and the boys, and unfortunately it does come to an end as many things do, but in just as dramatic of a fashion. As you continued going, you see both edges of that sword within such a short period. Talk to me about this experience. Summarize, now you get to start kind of looking back on it, even though you're very closely removed. Summarize what this experience has been like for you and this team, man. It's a loaded one, I know.
It was definitely strange at first. Getting the news that our school was closing it wasn't too much of a shock. Last year we had the same financial struggles, and we were able to pull through with it.
Yep.
And we thought that my graduating class 2025 was going to be able to finish, and that obviously came. That isn't going to happen anymore since we found out the news around mid-season this year. But it was a dark day, and our head coach Jan talks about this a lot. The day that we found out the news, it was a gloomy, rainy day, and walking to the locker room, you could kind of just feel a presence that it wasn't like a good meeting that we were about to have. But after he told us the news, he told us to get in the batting cages and kind of just not worry about anything fundamentally, just kind of let your emotions out through the game you love. And as we were doing that, you could just see the whole weather shift. I mean, it went from rainy and gloomy to bright, beautiful, and sunny outside. And that kind of, I think that day is when the whole run started. Just after that, I mean, I don't know what it is. We were struggling in all three parts of the game: pitching, hitting, and defense. And after that, man, it was a completely different ball club. Uh, Started out at, I can't, I lost the name of the tank school, LaGrange, one of our biggest rivals. It's always a good game against them, and that was our first game against them after we found the news, and we went up there and we put it to them. Great ball club, and went to center a couple of days later, he was leading the SAA at the time, and we put on a barrel show, and we kind of got the idea that if we could do this, like we can turn this whole thing around, and we did. We started stroking the ball, pitching phenomenally, defending the field like just incredibly, and we finished. We were at the bottom of our conference and rose to finish in third, which we didn't think was going to happen anyways. I mean, we were 13-10, and that was a blessing in itself that we were going to be able to host, the first part of the conference tournament, and being put out during that was almost as painful as finding out the school was closing, because we were like, is this really how our season's going to end? So those 2 weeks of practice were definitely tough. A little bit sneak into your head, like, are we really doing this for nothing? And when we got that bid, it was like that rainy day. The light started shining again.
You have that news, and I think a lot of different groups, this transcends baseball. This is any sport, any level. A lot of people could have taken that news and just folded. The fact you guys take that and turn it into your motivation, your calling card moving forward, and you talk about literally backs against the wall. You don't know your season could be done at any point along the way. In fact, you guys take that, turn it into some positive momentum is pretty special in itself, man. And I was going to ask, talking about the bus ride back today, because I'm sure that was a long one. I was going to ask you why the hell you and the boys aren't on a charter after seeing the GoFundMe money come through, and you guys were definitely the beneficiaries of that. But then I see this tweet up on the feed earlier today about the decision from this squad to be together for this last bus trip. Talk me through that process. Was that as an easy of a decision as it seemed?
It was one of the easiest decisions we've ever had to make. Coach brought the seniors together last night and asked them what they wanted to do, and they said they wanted the bus. And when we all got on the bus, Coach asked us, he's like, we can leave tomorrow on a plane, be home in 2 hours, or we can bus on 12 hours. What do y'all want to do? And it was, unanimous. Everyone wanted the bus back. Everyone wanted to spend that time with each other. Just have one more bus ride. Those bus rides are special. A lot of good stuff happens on them. We had a little group me photo dump on the way back, a little bit among us, but those bus rides are fun, and those are memories that you're going to keep with you forever.
100%. I've been on my fair share of those. Being up in the UP, any bus ride we'd go play, it was 7 or 8 hours. So you learn how to get comfy in those things no matter what. You guys, like you said, it's one of those things. There's a lot of special things that happen. Maybe you don't realize until after the fact, but being around the program, you obviously know how that goes. But on the note of that GoFundMe and talking about the fundraiser, whether it be, supporting you guys in your historic season, seeing that support, just the outburst of support from largely a group of people that probably didn't know your team existed, if we're being honest, just a month ago. Seeing these people come together and support you guys in that fashion, how special was that? What was the response from you and the guys?
It was definitely it was really cool. We're a small D3 school, had about 750 people in total, and you don't get a lot of publicity. We had a lot of alumni support, which got us through those 2 weeks. They were writing letters, sending texts, video calls, just pouring in the love and support that they could to keep us going while we didn't know if we were going to get a bid. But seeing everyone else in the country, getting labeled America's team, just having that outcry from people that states away. We got people I had a guy reach out to me yesterday before the game from Canada saying that all of Canada is supporting y'all, and that kind of, like you said, social media is incredible. Just being able to get our story out there and have people support us, it's insane.
Hell yeah, man! When it's used the right way, this is a powerful tool, and it's great that the fact that I can be however many miles the hell I am away from you, we can have this conversation is awesome in of itself. But the fun part, there's a lot of fun parts to this conversation. I think potentially the most fun part, and I would assume it goes the same for you. We got to talk about that walk-off, brother, because that was awesome. That was awesome. I'm going to leave it just like that. I'll set the stage for people who weren't tuned in. Obviously, bottom of the ninth, all tied up. Nobody out, man, on first, I believe. You come up there. You're in a situation where, hey, in a lot of places, at a lot of different ball clubs, you might bunt one down, get the guy over into scoring position, set it up for the next guy. Hell no. You walk me through that AB. I'm going to just play the video, let the people watch, man.
So I was on deck, and one of our old coaches, Jared Kent, who's at Benedictine now, came out there to support us. And there's an alumni who's a first baseman with me last year. And I told him, I said, I'm the best son of a bitch in this stadium. I'm about to win this game. And when I said that, I felt it, and I was like, okay, I don't need to let it get to my head now. And I kind of started thinking about it when I walked up to the plate, and kid threw me a curveball in the dirt, threw probably about 53 feet, and I took an ugly swing. I kind of smiled, and I was like, that was like a release of all of my nerves and emotions that I had right there. I was like, okay, I need to calm down a little bit. I gave myself a little chest pat to my coach at third and in the dugout, and threw another curveball a little bit higher, and fouled it straight back. So I'm sitting at an 0-2 count, and he's made me look stupid on one curveball. I mean, I think I knew he's gonna come back. I knew he's gonna come back with another one, and he hung it just a little too much. And you hang it, we bang it, and
let's go.
I mean, I crushed it. It was awesome, and I kind of thought it was going to be a double at first. I kind of got around it a little bit.
Okay.
But I hear the crowd erupt, and I knew I won the game regardless, even if it is a double, because Andrew Dutton, he's got some wheels at first base. But I look out there in left field, and the ball clears the seats, and I'm like, holy cow! It's like a childhood dream to hit a walk-off, let alone in the College World Series.
Dude, that is ridiculous. And you talk about the stakes, too. I mean, in that Randolph-Macon game, this is a double elimination. Obviously, you guys had already lost one before, so this is literally win or go home, or in your case, win or you're just done in general as far as the program is concerned. Yeah. So is any of that going through your mind at the plate? I have to imagine so.
I've actually done a pretty good job of filtering out.
Okay.
It was I believe it was the seventh inning. They had a 7-4 lead on us.
Yep. And
I had lined out to center field, kind of walked in the dugout. I had a lot of emotions. I started thinking about, could this be my last at bat ever? This is the last time I stepped on the field with these guys. And I kind of said a quick prayer, just asking for like some peace and just being able to relax, because we had to go play the defense, 2 more innings.
Oh yeah.
And that kind of I had a bunch of nerves going. And it kind of just flushed it all and kind of put me in a state of peace, where I was like, if we lose this game, we lose this game. If we win, we get to keep going. But I'm content with the guys that I'm next to right now, and the ability just to be here was enough for me.
That's important. What also helps is it wasn't even your first homer of the day. That ball, you're in that box. You're righty, right? I got to flip. Yeah, I got to flip. I'm lefty here. But, that thing just looking like a beach ball on the way in, it had to just be looking some type of way.
They had nice batters on center field, and that's pitcher's worst nightmare, because you can see anything with the batter's eye.
Yep.
Threw me a slider first pitch, and then threw me an inside fastball. And when I saw the fastball, I was like, oh, I'm seeing that all day. And came back into the fastball, and it might be the hardest ball I've ever hit in my entire life.
No shit, that's awesome.
I mean, it was.
You saved it for the right time, brother. We might need to get an exit velo on that, huh?
They had TrackMan, but I don't think it was running. I wish it was.
No. So, and then we'll stay on this for another minute here. And the other clip I wanted to show was from your dad in the stands, and what a special moment that was. You saw that one going around?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
That is awesome. So I'll play that one for the people who didn't get to check that out. And right before, he just like basically speaks it into existence, and then you get once again that POV and the spot there. That talk about how special that moment is. Obviously, them being there, and also it sounds like he did the play-by-play for your home games this year. Is that true?
Oh yeah. One of my high school friends, he was on the team last year. Austin Fried did all the play-by-play at first, and my dad was like, "Hey, can I just join in with you?" And he was like, "Yeah, absolutely." So you know, I think he slipped up a few times when I'm up there hitting because, you know, he gets into it pretty good.
Hell yeah.
But seeing him, it's funny because I'm glad he didn't say anything else. He gets into it, man. I love it. He's taught me everything I know. He's a hell of a dad, a hell of a baseball coach, and just seeing his reaction makes you feel like you made him proud. And I'm glad that he was there. My mom, my grandmother, and my girlfriend all drove up, and my sister. My sister was there too. Just being able to do that for like in front of them, almost for them in a way, was incredible.
Yeah, man, you're right. That's a hard feeling to top. And for a lot of people there, you talk about your support system that have put just as much into you, right, to get you to this point and been such a critical part of that journey. And obviously this goes on to get picked up by ESPN, Sports Illustrated, every publication that's worth a shit. They all come along, pick this thing up. And so now you've gone from this team that's like, oh, you know, everyone loves the little underdog story, to now here we are, and holy shit, these guys just pulled off something pretty incredible. And now everyone, it looked like from the outside, it just had that perspective of, okay, everyone's really jumping in on this bandwagon right now. The energy in that clubhouse right there, if you can call it that, had to be through the roof. How did you guys balance that going into the next round? Because there's not much of a time gap between those games, right? So you have this supreme, just ultimate high of emotions, and you need to level yourself out before going into that game against Whitewater.
I mean, I could barely sleep. I think I went to bed. I think I went to bed around 4:00, and it was a blessing that the game got moved from 3 to 5, and that was probably the biggest blessing. I mean, the greatest thing that could have happened. Everyone was on a cloud nine after that. I mean, just being able to play one more day. We didn't really care about, you know, how we did it. We just wanted to play one more time with each other on the field, and I will say, Monster Energy got me right for the next game.
Hell yeah.
That was, I mean, I had 2 of them before the game. My mom doesn't like that.
How, what was the time span from Monster to like finishing the Monster to first pitch?
So I'm very superstitious. Very superstitious.
That was going to be my next question anyways. Go right into it. Let's hear
it. So me and my teammate Ty Truitt, we walked like half a mile to this gas station. Wasn't the greatest part of town, but we walked there, and, you know, I picked up 2 monsters, a blue one and a white one. Got back to the hotel, cracked the first one open. You know, it was a blue one, right? That's a key point right there. And drank that, and then we got on the bus and got to the field, started warming up, and I cracked the second one right before the first pitch, and started drinking it throughout the game, and we won. Awesome. So the next day it was raining outside. Games got pushed back, and I texted him. I was like, "We gotta go to the gas station, you know." And he's like, "Yeah." So we walked through the rain to go to the same gas station, same route. I mean, didn't split a pole or anything. And
that's big. That's huge. Actually, that's huge.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And so here you are, probably in the batter's box, you know, trying to, you know, you talked about, right, asking for that calm and that peace and trying to filter things out and do all of that. Meanwhile, you're doing that with potentially 300 to 400 milligrams of caffeine just flowing through your system. That just like stark opposite is hilarious to me. But baseball is very much a game of superstition, and if something works, it works, right? And you go back to
absolutely.
it. But I love that, dude. That's pretty special. Now, looking back and reflecting now, did you have, it seems like that kind of this announcement of the school's closure, it sounded like was quite a bit of a surprise, and you thought that this class for you guys was going to be able to finish. It sounds like it caught you guys really off guard in that moment, although you said you walked into that room, there was just that dark, gloomy atmosphere that hung over, but you guys didn't really have much inclination that this was going to happen prior to that, right?
Well, So my sophomore year, the school went through the same situation. We didn't know if we were going to make it to my junior season,
Okay.
and we were able to get through. We were able to get through my sophomore year and into this junior year, and then we got the news, and we were like, okay, are we even going to make it to the spring? And Birmingham and donors pulled together and we raised enough money for us to have a spring, and that alone, it's just we didn't know about us not possibly having a spring.
Yeah.
One of the donors came and talked to us and told us about it, and we were all kind of just shocked. Like, he's the biggest supporter of the baseball team, Mr. Dick Shea. He donated a lot of money himself just so that we could have a spring and have a baseball season. And we didn't know. I personally thought I was going to be able to graduate. A lot of people in my class did too.
Yeah.
Even though we knew the current situation, we thought we maybe like in maybe 4 or 5 years it might happen. Not, in the middle of May.
Mm-hmm. No, 100%. And now you're listed as a junior. What does the future hold for you and the rest of the guys that have those years left? One, to obviously go and get your degree and take those next steps in your life, but also on the diamond, right? Like, you got a lot of guys who I'm assuming still want to go play ball somewhere. What does the future look like for you guys? I'm assuming that starts really soon now, trying to figure that out.
Yeah, a lot of guys actually. I included pushed off the recruiting until after our season was over. Really just wanted to soak in the situation that we're in now. You're in the College World Series. It doesn't matter what level you're at. That's an incredible feat to make, and I think if we were focused on all the outside things, we wouldn't have made it there in the first place. I definitely want to keep playing. I don't know where I'm going to go yet. I'm trying to get an extra year. I got injured my freshman year. I got hit in the face.
Oh,
so I'm trying to get a year back for that. But a lot of guys want to keep playing. Josh Learson, one of our best pitchers, is going to Stanford next year, and Charlie Horn going to Wofford. There's a lot of guys on this team that are capable of playing at the Division I level. Jan and JD are just incredible coaches, incredible recruiters, and incredible developers. Jan and JD turned me into the player that I am today, along with some of my hitting coaches back home. But they just know they know the game. Jan is a baseball whiz. He's taught me everything I know, along with my dad. And JD knows how to, teach you how to hit a ball. Taught me how to hit the walk-off home run. So I got a lot of fortitude for those guys. But they set us up for. Any life situation. And this one right here, I don't really think anyone's too worried. Jan's got a lot of network with the coaches in Division III, Division II, and D1, and he's going to break his back for all of us. He's this kind of guy he is. He's going to make sure we find a place if we want to keep playing.
That's good, man. No, I'm excited to hopefully see and follow where these guys do end up, yourself included. And, to leave it off with you, obviously you have a lot of new eyes and ears that are a part of this journey now and have tuned in for this last dance, if you will. What's one thing, if you could have them remember one thing or one piece about this team, this squad, this school, what would that be?
I just want everyone to remember our story. And we're blessed to have once we won the regional, we had a documentary crew pick it up, and so we've had cameras on us, everything we do, getting dressed in the hotel room for a game. Like they've just been covering everything. Man. So the ability to have a documentary that we can look back on, because most likely we're not going to come back to our school. We don't have a school anymore. Yeah. So having that to look back on, show our family, friends, future kids, is what I'm very thankful for.
I love it, man. I love it. I know I was looking at some Instagram comments, and the one was like, they're all like the proposed titles for the 30 for 30, right? If you guys go win the whole thing. And the one that stuck with me was Kings Without a Throne. I was like, damn.
Oh, that would have been sick.
That is nice. Yeah. Whoever, they might have to get some royalties to that person, because that would have been that would have been ridiculous. I love it. Sweet. But Jackson, that's all I got for you, brother. Once again, I really appreciate your time. Thank you for hopping off the bus, hopping onto the podcast, man. That means the world.
I appreciate you having me on it, man.
Absolutely. Have a good night, brother.
Thank you. You too.
See ya. Thank you very much for Jackson, joining me here on the pod tonight. We will switch over out of the baseball realm, get back to what we know and love here, small school football. And now we're talking about a new man in charge for New Mexico Highlands, a team that admittedly we haven't talked too much about on here. That may have been because of their struggling schedule, at least these in recent history. That might change under this man here, head coach now over there for New Mexico Highlands. That's Coach Kurt Tofasau. He's now one of only, I believe, 2 Polynesian head coaches at the Division II level across America. So that is a pretty sweet stat in itself. But other than that, this is an extremely qualified individual who's heading up this program, this Division II squad. He was the ACC FCA. I know it's a hell of an acronym. I'm going to break it down. Don't worry. That is the American Community College Football's Coaches Association. So everyone knows like the AFCA. It's the community college version of that. There you go. You got it. Anyways, he was their coach of the year in 2021. He won a national championship while he was coaching junior college. He played and coached at New Mexico Military Institute, right? So that's his previous school. That's where he's coming to Highlands from. And like I said, he played there. But then after he played there at the community college or the junior college level, he went and moved on to play at Wyoming. And then to the NFL, he had stints with the Raiders, the Titans, and the Colts. So a guy that yes, has a prolific coaching career and has done a lot of great things at the college level, albeit at a different level of college football. The dude also played it, right? And he has the experience and from different levels of football, all the way from that junior college level, now moving to D2, but he's been at the D1. He's been at the NFL level, most importantly. It seems to me that this guy has a wealth of knowledge and experience behind him, and there was a lot of great outpouring support for this guy to come and head up this program. Now, coming from New Mexico Military Institute, he led the Bronco football program the past 3 seasons, 27-10 overall, 15-6 in conference play, and they went 12-1, won that championship in 2021. So he started his career there, and then went on, like I said, to Wyoming. Started out coaching-wise at the high school level and returned back to his, I don't know if you can call it an alma mater at junior college. But he returned there, and that's where he's been ever since. So he is making that move over there officially, and I think another wrinkle that makes this story somewhat even more compelling and more interesting. Forgive me, I got a sneeze coming on. I can just feel it. Allergies have been fighting me, so if I randomly just blast one here in a second, forgive me. But what makes this story a little bit more interesting here than your typical head coach announcement or something of that nature is that the school, New Mexico Highlands, they identified their 3 finalists for the head coaching vacancy. All 3 of the interviews were available for literally anybody to watch on Zoom. So I didn't. Maybe I should have. I didn't. But I could have just gone onto my phone, computer, whatever the hell, desktop, whatever you're watching on, and you could just pull up these Zooms and tune in immediately to watch these guys interview live in front of the committee. And that is something I don't believe we've seen much of, if any of, in college athletics, to my knowledge. And it's something that might change the landscape a little bit. I won't lie. New Mexico Highlands, they in this article by Football Scoop, shout out to those guys. There's some great information here. But they say here, in a move, quote, in a move to make every FBS AD blush, they've identified all 3 finalists. So they're saying, in that remark there, they're basically saying, like, FBS, they don't do that. They're not identifying publicly. They don't do that. They pick their guy and then they get to run with that guy, and that's the announcement that's made. So that's already one thing they're doing that's a little bit different. Then in a move, they says again, quote, in a move to make sure every FBS AD requires a defibrillator, the school will interview all 3 in a public forum. So I think it's just kind of poking fun at the idea of like the transparency of this is something that we haven't seen the level of this, the likes of this done at any level before. And when it comes to an FBS or a higher level football program, you could never even imagine them having this level of transparency and letting their constituents, their audience, their viewers and fans in on that level, into this interview process. And I think, just these kind of remarks, it goes to show like this could probably scare a lot of larger institutions that maybe have their own things and own processes, whatever the hell the word is, that they do behind the scenes. I think this is a really cool level of transparency. I don't think we'll see this at any big schools, but who knows? Maybe this has some fans and people calling for that to be the case. So Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, they split the interviews up into 3 different days. They all took place from 11:30 to 12:30 local time, and they were in the sub 320 governance room. Those who can't attend can follow along via Zoom. So, by the way, if you were, say you were around New Mexico Highlands, you could just show up. You could just say, hey, first come, first serve, come grab yourself a chair, come listen to potentially who could be the new man leading our football program over here. And you know what? If you can't join in, maybe you're across the pond, just hop on a Zoom link. Public access, baby. Let's get in on this thing. Pretty cool, man. I think it is really neat. And definitely worth mentioning. The other two finalists there, it was, Justin Richter and Darren Jackson. Richter, I'm hopefully pronouncing that correctly. He was the head coach, or is the head coach at Sterling College, and they've struggled the last couple of years. He was the DB's coach at Colorado Mesa, so has a little bit of RMAC experience. And the other guy was, Richter, is the defensive backs coach and special teams coordinator at West Texas A&M. I'm talking about Jackson was the one at Sterling College. I got him mixed up. Richter is the defensive backs coach, special teams coordinator at West Texas A&M, and he previously spent 6 seasons as the defensive coordinator at Missouri Western. So really good experience between MIAA and the Lone Star Conference. A dude who's got coordinator level experience at both of those positions. They obviously really like Coach Kurt and what he brought to the table, because that seems like a pretty good resume right there. But it's, not a job that has had a lot of security, historically, I think is the word I'm looking for. He is the program's 13th head coach since the year 2000. And the Cowboys have only enjoyed 2 winning seasons during that span. One coach has lasted longer than 3 seasons. He lasted 4. Everyone else has been less than 3 years. Gone. You're starting to see more and more of that at the college level, right? I think, 10, 15 years ago when I was just a wee lad, you saw college coaches come in and bring in their staff and start to bring in their guys and really sell this idea of, we need 4 or 5 years to really get our guys that we endorse and recruit these guys and get in here and develop them from day one and get them to be those upperclassmen, those junior and seniors and redshirt seniors, right? You're going to redshirt a whole class. And then when it came to year 4 and year 5, then the seat underneath you started to have flames on it if you still sucked. But now what we've seen is just the opposite, right? You're getting 2, maybe 3 years, and you're just going to start having some of those hard questions thrown across the table at you. I think a big part of that is because of the transfer portal and because there are opportunities and there are options to get in that immediate play now talent. You don't have to bring in a full class and redshirt everybody when you can go out and just poach players from teams around you, or teams, get guys from higher or lower levels regardless. But that's the scoop on the new head coach over at Highlands. But I will transition and segue over to our NAIA portion of the conversation here with Matt Schwaerzler. Let's keep this thing moving. Move over to the NAIA side. And back on the show, not his first time, but it's been a minute. Matt Schwaerzler, what's up, man? How you doing?
I'm good, man. It has been a minute. Excited to talk NAIA football. Got a lot of fun stuff today about the funnest conference in the NAIA Frontier. It's going to be good, man.
I love it. And they're the most fun, and potentially now they're making the case when you add all these different members, they're right up there when it comes to the competition level, and they have been, right? It's not something that's new to it. But to start for today, I mean, the big news, at least for us, and we'll talk some of the other teams that are joining here in just a minute, but Simpson football, right? And it's something, small school football, especially out on the West Coast, talk about teams in California specifically, there's almost nothing, right? And so for them to bring this up and to be a part of this conference is awesome. And for teams that have a lot of travel, notoriously those kind of Western teams where it's a little bit more sparse in the schedules, for this to be a thing is awesome. So first we'll play that quick video of kind of the formal announcement for the people to at least get a little listen in.
I am here today to formally invite the Simpson University Redhawks to be the 14th football playing school in the Frontier Conference beginning in the fall of 2025.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. So there's the more formal announcement there of the invitation. And how about the jersey? You saw the picture of the jersey with the Frontier on the back. Whoever got that turned around and flipped up pretty quickly in reference to that announcement is a real one, because that's no easy task, get a nice little nameplate on there. But talk to me about first impressions of this news, man.
Yeah, it's super exciting. Obviously, we've mentioned that D2 NAIA level California is just non-existent. It's either D1 or D3, either the big time or like the real small time. There's nothing wrong with that. Obviously, at the D2 level, we've seen Azusa Pacific go under. We've seen some of these other teams either hop up, hop down, or just disappear completely. And to see somebody new in the fold in California is super exciting. Obviously, joining the Frontier is the westernmost conference in the NAIA, so it makes sense. But also, Arizona Christian now has a local team to play
That
as
is
one of
big
the
time.
newer
I did not think
teams
about
in the
that.
conference. Yeah, they are obviously way down there, joining the conference from the Sooner the other year, and they struggled a bit, but obviously adjusting to new things in the Frontier. It's pretty exciting, and it's going to be really fun watching this team next year. Obviously, a new program. We get to see the birth of something new. They spent 2 years scrimmaging and getting their roster together, and now next year joining the Frontier, we get to see them fully in the fold.
100%. I think, their head coach has talked a lot about, the struggles that will probably come with joining a conference like this when you play, was it 4 or 5 top 25 opponents in your first full year in conference play. Now, again, that won't be this fall, but they're playing as an independent in 2024. I think it's also important to note, too, that they are technically an associate member, at least Simpson, right? They're an associate member of the conference for football specifically, so not a full-fledged member of the Frontier. But as far as football goes, it doesn't really change the way things operate. They're still going to be in league play, and like you said, that's not something that's going to actually happen until 2025, but this coming year in the fall of 24 they'll play as an independent, and that, let's see here, I believe that is 7 road games and 3 at home. And so their head coach was talking about how that puts into perspective that, if you're not in a conference, you really can't survive at a small school level. You simply don't have the resources to go out and make that happen. And scheduling becomes a hassle year in and year out. Now, for teams in the Frontier now, though, scheduling is not going to be that big of a deal because you have 14 teams.
Yeah. Because you add in Simpson to the picture, and also that makes it 10, but then you add Dickinson State, who got announced in December. You had Dakota State, you add Valley City State, you had Mayville State, and also Bellevue, but Bellevue doesn't play football, so they're not important to the conversation here. Obviously, in 2 years, expanding that much, you're looking at divisions now for a conference that is notoriously eaten itself alive. Being able to split into potentially 2 divisions means 2 auto bids for a conference that usually can shoulder in 2 teams without, a at-large bid, and then now you're potentially talking 3 or 4. And also for Simpson, the schedule for next year, they're playing a lot of the Frontier Conference, their Frontier teams anyways, but also you sprinkle in a PLU game, D3, sprinkle in a Willamette game, also D3, and you sprinkle in Pacific Northwest Christian College, which, shout out to them. I don't know if I've ever heard of them.
I was about to say that's a first for me. Shout out the men and or women over there.
Yes, good for them, because I have not heard of them. I'm sure they are doing great things over there, Pacific Northwest Christian College. So it's going to be really fun to see the birth of a program, and the Frontier is going to be so exciting in the next couple of years. It is going to be interesting, though, this coming season, that looming on the horizon. Does that do anything for these teams? They got to travel now to California and Arizona, potentially, looking at all these trips out east. Do they start reallocating funds now? Like, there's a lot of logistical stuff to consider for these teams.
There is, and these conversations obviously didn't just spur up out of nowhere. This has been things that have gone on for a long time. But you're right. There's so many more pieces that go into this. But the obvious benefit, like you said, the split, right? I believe it's East and West, and now what you're looking at is a conference that will have 2 bids now to that playoff. And we've talked about it with teams before. I think we talked about it with the GPAC in particular, with a conference that has just that upper echelon, that upper tier of that conference. You can make the argument for multiple teams that all deserve that right. But when it comes to that automatic bid at the NAIA level, that is no gimme, right? It's very much similar maybe to in D3, where there's only a very select few that make it into the playoffs as an at-large bid, sorry, is the term I'm looking for. So I think that's probably the biggest add as far as like what this brings to the conference. Do you agree with me on that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's and again, you mentioned the GPAC. It's always an interesting case. They're 1 team away from being able to split and get that 2 automatic bid in the playoff.
Okay.
And not that it's a bad thing. Obviously, it's fun to kind of play a full conference schedule without divisions, but also that means that you're taking away an at-large bid from a team who would be able to squeak in and make the playoff more interesting. You talk about parity. I mean, obviously, these are all conversations we've had about the top levels of college football, and now it's starting to trickle down a little bit. But the Frontier being able to make that split work, you could potentially look at cutting travel costs, and teams can play more local games for out of conference and that sort of stuff. It's net positive for the Frontier for sure.
Yeah, and then Coach Daniel and the staff over there, they did it the right way. Took over the program at Simpson in 22, and you talked about it, redshirt that class, and we've seen a lot of that. And a lot gets focused on the schools that are shutting down right now. I mean, shoot. Talk with the man from Birmingham Southern here earlier in the episode, but it's good to see that there are more schools coming on to the scene, right? We've seen at least 3 this coming year that are going to be in their first years of a full-fledged program. I know Simpson, and you talk about like Calvin College is one in Michigan that's going to be in their first year of football, and I'm blanking on there's definitely at least one more. But that's definitely, this seems to be the blueprint of doing it. Now, does that change in the world of the transfer portal? How does this, again, NAIA transfer, that is also a dynamic amongst itself. But there's still, I mentioned, I'll talk about it later in the episode. As far as college football is concerned, man, there's over 5,000 kids still uncommitted in the portal. And, for a kid that, it might be a little bit of a tough sell, maybe not. California's not so bad this time of year, I hear. But it might be a little bit of a tough sell to come into a new program and kind of take on these squads. And speaking of that, even though it technically isn't Frontier Conference play this fall, how about an opener and a welcome to this level of ball with, I believe it's College of Idaho is their first game.
Yeah, and they are on the road in Caldwell. That is no easy place to play, even if you're, a good ranked team. And we just don't know what to make of the Simpson team. I will give them the fact that being in California, you have access to a huge recruiting pool down there. Obviously, you're going to be able to look at those kids who aren't quite that D1 caliber, but don't want to leave far from home. They don't have to go out of state to Arizona or Nevada or wherever else. You're going to be able to sell that they can stay home and play for an up and coming program. I think that's going to go a long way.
Yep.
But man, you're getting put to the test early. College of Idaho is no joke. They followed it up with Pacific Lutheran. And after that, at home again against Southern Oregon, who is kind of an interesting team going into next year. They're kind of the sleeping giant of this conference. For those who know their NAIA history, this was a very dominant Southern Oregon University program for most of the early 2010s. Fell off a little bit, and they're starting to build back up. They have their road made out for them. They're going to have to take their licks a little bit, but I think it's ultimately beneficial that they're going to get a look at these teams before they jump fully into the conference in 2025.
I agree. Wasn't it Southern Oregon that just dropped those the new helmets heading into the season too? Correct? Did you see those?
I did not see those.
I'll pull out. Of course, I can't. The screen sharing deal is just not working with us today. But I'll pull it up here for at least the viewers to take a look. I just pulled up the tweet. I found it. They got a nice, cool little white helmet with the decal, red face mask. I mean, just a really clean look. So excited to see that take to the gridiron this fall for SOU, which is just a pretty cool acronym in itself. But no, you're 100% right. And kind of staying on this Simpson note. Their athletic director, Rob Harley, he was talking about kind of the stemming the tide, if you will, of California schools cutting their football programs. He said, for 30 years, I've watched football programs in California get killed. And what I love about what we're doing here at Simpson is we put a stake in the ground and we said, we're bringing football back, and we're bringing football back in the West. That's a big deal, he said.
God, I love that.
I love that. That might be one. We might have to put that up on a separate post because that's a tough little quote right there.
Yeah.
But I think it's important, and I think you kind of touched on some of those points too, in that we talk about Wisconsin a lot, we talk about the WIAC a lot, and why the WIAC is so potent is because for those kids that want to stay home and play local and play college ball, it's WIAC or Madison, it's WIAC or Big Ten, right? And for everyone in between, everyone who can't snuff Big Ten who wants to stay there, it's WIAC. So now you're talking about potentially actually a very similar situation out in a state like this, in an area like this where small school football is not nearly as prevalent, and you don't have the D3 and the D2 presence. The NAIA is a little bit more saturated out there now, thankfully. But even FCS, yeah, maybe a bit out there, but it's FBS, and while not all of it may be Power 4 anymore, right? There's a little more of that just a year ago. I think we're going to be in a little bit of a similar situation there, and I would hope that Simpson will be the beneficiary from that.
Yeah, I think they have an immense opportunity to put some people on notice, to start the year. Obviously, you sprinkle in some D3 opponents like we talked about, get some wins on the board, show people that this is a program to be taken seriously in the way the athletic director talks about it. I imagine this is a very serious program that we are going to be talking about in a few years as a real contender. I'm excited to see it. This is going to be a lot of fun to see what they're going to be able to do, see how California plays into the NAIA. Obviously in other sports, we see it. They're a member of the Cal Pac, which is kind of dissolving for all of their other sports. And obviously the Cascade, the CCC, we see a lot of those teams go to the frontier for football, like College of Idaho, some of these other Montana schools. It's kind of all coming together for the West Coast and the NAIA. As a West Coast kid, it's awesome to see because I had to go very far to go play NAIA football from Washington State to South Dakota. So seeing more of these opportunities pop up for guys local, they don't have to travel super far, be super far from home. It's awesome, honestly. And I hope we keep seeing more of it.
Big for West Coast ball. Now, not so big for the North Star. What the hell happens there? You're just bleeding out right now. You talk about, I think that's probably the best way to describe it. And then, maybe lost in the cast because it has been a little while ago. Jamestown too, right? Has accepted moving up to the NSIC to the D2 level. So now you're in a pretty interesting predicament over there, huh?
Yeah. So Jamestown, originally a North Star school, like 5 or 6 years ago, joins the GPAC.
Okay, there you go. Yep.
Yeah, Jamestown, at Wesley and I played Jamestown all 4 years.
There you go.
But they do jump to D2, so that knocks a team out. But then you go and grab Waldorf from the North Star because the GPAC has this thing where you have to be like a Christian school to be in the conference. Waldorf is a Christian school. Bringing Waldorf to replace Jamestown. Okay. Yes. Yeah, it's a weird, I don't know. It's a weird thing, but it's how the conference is. And from there, you kind of have the rest of the North Star. You have Presentation fold. You have Iowa Wesleyan fold. Waldorf is gone. Jamestown's not even in the picture anymore. And you're stuck with, the 4 teams that we mentioned earlier, Dickinson State, Dakota State, Valley City State, and Mayville State.
Go.
They got to go because they don't have an automatic bid. They don't have enough teams to have an automatic bid into the playoff. It's the Pac-2 situation, what we're seeing at the upper levels of college football. There's no automatic bid. They got to jump ship. They got to find something. And the Frontier will be really good for them. Obviously, it would have been kind of fun to watch those teams in the GPAC as a GPAC guy. Dakota State is right in the middle of GPAC country.
Yes,
so it just
territory-wise.
Technically further into GPAC country than Dakota Wesleyan is, fun fact. But,
really?
Dakota Wesleyan's more west than Madison. So, but either way, these programs do have a home, which is good. We don't have to see this huge independent influx, which could be kind of weird. And they're going to be in the fold. I'm excited to see Dickinson State compete with some of these upper teams. Obviously, Dickinson State has not gotten the benefit of the doubt in the past few years, not necessarily being ready for the playoff because they kind of beat up on lower competition. But obviously, these teams now in the fold get to build up something that is in a more powerful conference with new members, new scenery. And hey, if you're from wherever North Dakota, trip to California doesn't sound too bad.
No, it doesn't, especially if it's being financed. You're the one paying for it. So, no, I'll leave you with this though. Now again, wait, I guess I'll leave you. I got 2 questions. Sorry, I lied. Do we know what is the proposed split as far as which squads are on East and West? Has that been released yet, or is that still TBD?
That's still TBD. Okay. Also with 14 teams, it's weird because it would be like a 7-team split. It can technically be done, but they'd have to, there's a weird kind of, we won't know pretty much until we get close to that 25 season.
Okay.
So.
Yep. I couldn't find that anywhere, but I know if that had been put out on any kind of medium, but as far as, I know, again, we'll get those too, but as far as the coming season, I guess, for 2024 with the Frontier, any clear-cut favorite for you? A lot of time left.
I talked about it a little bit on the NAIA F-Ball show. If you guys are listening and haven't checked it out, me and my buddy Corey do season previews, preseason content for the NAIA. We're through 5 conferences right now, so go check that out. Man, this conference is so dumb to talk about every year. I mean, we talk about it during the season. We talk about it out of season. It is just absolutely ridiculous. Montana Tech, a lot of the Montana schools, Montana Western was my pick. They look really strong.
Yes.
Turning a lot of guys. Their quarterback, who was a baller last year, is coming back. That offense that was so potent. And they got a lot of pieces on the defense returning to really make some noise. That is my pick, Montana Western right now. But man, you could take Carroll. You could take Montana Tech. You could take College of Idaho. I mean, pick your poison with this conference. It's going to be absolutely crazy.
Right there with you, man. I told you that's all I got for you, though. But I appreciate it. Excited to see what 24 has in store with us, and good to see that there's some big things going on even further down the road in 25 for the NAIA scene. But per usual, appreciate your insight, brother.
Of course. Take it easy.
Absolutely. Have a good rest of your night there.
You as well. See ya.
Once again, thank you to Matt. Been a minute since we had him on here, so glad to get him back on here, share a little bit of that expertise, spit some knowledge. But we'll close it out on two, not one, but two fun little pieces. I meant the first one, actually. I take that back. First one's actually not that fun. It's right here. 5,000 plus transfer portal prospects are uncommitted, according to Athlink, who is a great source for pretty reliable information. At least I've come to find from this stuff, and that number right there is pretty astounding for me. No, it doesn't just say, just these are D3, D2 specific. Like, this is across the board, but like right now you look at that number and think of a football team as 100 players, right? Just roughly think of a football team as 100 players. Let's do the math here. That is 50 football teams worth of prospective student athletes that are currently sitting in the portal without a home. And that is crazy. That is a wild number to me. 5,000 dudes are currently in the portal. They don't know where they're going to play this fall, 24. And now all these teams are at a point now, all these teams are getting into their summer programs. They've already used up a large percentage, if not all, their scholarship money, right? I know the D1s really have. Now you're talking about D2 and D3. Things get interesting. Obviously, D3 doesn't have athletic scholarships. But, D1s, your scholarships are just about used up here. Unless you had some guys leave in the portal and you're vacating some money, you're just about all wrapped up here. Now, the portal closed officially May 1. But the kids can commit anytime, right? So this doesn't mean these guys are screwed. They're just out floating and they're done. Their college game is over. The portal closed May 1. That means that you couldn't enter your name into the portal. At least is my understanding. Could I be wrong? Absolutely. I never claimed to be 100% right. I never will be. But the portal closed May 1. That means kids cannot continue to enter their name into the portal, so you can't leave the institution after May 1. But these guys can commit anytime. That is, granted, they find themselves a spot, and that's going to be the really tricky part, is that with so many guys and so little spots in teams that have already used up the majority of their money, like these kids, that's the problem with a lot of this, is they're going to have to settle for something that is probably a worse off situation than where they started. And that's a really terrifying concept. And with all the good the transfer portal has brought to college athletics, it brings some uncertainty and some bad with it as well. And I know I've talked about it more than my fair share on this particular program. But there's just a number for you. Just a number for you to kind of let that one sink in. How about that? Let's talk about, though, potentially the coolest official visit content I have ever seen on this app, in this universe. I don't know what to tell you. Now, a lot of schools, just about every school now, at least at the Division I level, you bring a kid on campus, you're getting the photo shoot. You're going to put the gear on, you get the photo backdrops. You're probably going to have some crazy props. We'll look at some of those in a minute. This takes the cake. This is next level shit. As someone who is a content creator who does it at the college level, albeit at a Division II school, this is wild, the dedication that goes into some content like this. Take a look at this video from a recruit and his official visit at USC. Are you kidding? And it loops? Okay. I'm gonna take the audio off for you. Y'all can see, y'all can just let it, I'm gonna just let it loop, because that is beautiful. I'm gonna let it loop for y'all. I'm gonna take the audio off so I can talk on this a little bit. This is incredible. Obviously, this backdrop and everything is not real, but the fact that they're having some kind of template, that they're compositing this guy into this location, using and kind of layering these different elements, right? And plugging this all together seamlessly. You got all the trophies and everything. Now, for me, the question becomes how many of these elements are real and how many of them are added in post-production and visual effects. I have no idea. It's done so well. Like, obviously, some things like the lightning and shit, yeah, you know that's not happening in real time. The star, how about the Hollywood star at the end? I mean, this is awesome. And we're talking props. First of all, I know as someone who played with lightsabers as a kid, as a big Star Wars fan, this guy may very well have been on the same track. You saw the way he did the little flip with the sword there. That was badass. Let's get another look at that here in just a second. But the sword is probably one of the cooler props over there for the Trojans. Here it is. Yeah, that's pretty clean. That'll do. That'll do just nice. That'll do just fine. But that video is incredible, and I think two things stand out about that. One is that, holy shit, USC creative team, you guys are killing it. You guys are doing a great job. That's fucking awesome. Like, you're going to get kids who are so pumped to be on the official visit and to have that to put on social media. The other half of me that is a content creator and does this for prospective student athletes at my own institution up here at Northern Michigan, is like, fuck you guys. Like, sincerely, fuck you guys over at USC Athletics, because you have just raised the bar. I mean, you can see on camera here. Yeah, it's up there, pal. It's up there, right? You have raised the bar so exponentially high for every other program. And yeah, there are other, Power 4, top caliber squads that I'm sure could pull this off. There's a ton of talented creatives out there. But what happens to the guys at Northern Michigan that get shown this in about a week and say, hey, can we do something like this? Or the dudes at Eastern Michigan in the MAC, right? Group of 5. And they see this and like, why aren't we doing this for our guys? And their coach, shows them that, right? What happens to those guys? You got to say no, obviously, because unless you have the capability to pull this stuff off, because the thing is with this and with official visits in general, if you do it for one person, you basically got to do it for everyone. So when you see with official visits, you don't want to typically do this elaborate format and theme and all these things, because that has to be replicated and duplicated over and over and over and over again. So what you typically see are the graphics and photos, things that can be templatized and just plug and play and have them go out to the different recruits and post. Because I don't think what you guys don't realize either is that a lot of guys going to official visits, they don't even post the shit. You give them the photos, they just sit on their camera roll. So imagine now this, like if someone leaves this on their camera roll and does not bless their timelines with that, you're crazy. You're absolutely ridiculous. But I wanted to show some of the other, official visit stuff that we've seen from other like top schools. And then we can talk about some small school implications. But how about this stuff from Ohio State here? We've seen like the newspaper and kind of collage background been pretty big. I love this setup from Ohio State with the black helmet. Oh my gosh, that's clean. That's clean. Now, they go take it a step further. Ohio State's got this whole, it's basically a set. You'll see it here. They've got this, like, what is this? Is this, what's his name? Oh my gosh, why am I blanking? NFL commish. Oh, I can see his face, and why am I, holy shit, I'm totally blanking. Is this his basement? Is this his basement when he watched, or when they hosted the COVID NFL draft? Is that his basement right there? Like, they built this whole setup for these official visits. Don't get me wrong, it's really sick. It's homey. Like, it's pretty cool. But it's very different. And we're going to talk all about props and some of those things. Here is an official visit from another big-time squad. This one over at Syracuse. And I'll pull this up. Let's see. Don't need the music on there. But so now they incorporate a little bit of a video aspect. Now, I like this style as more of like the behind the scenes type deal. Now they got the whole run out and everything. You got smoke machines and everything go. I mean, look at this. It's incredible. You talk about like student experience and like what these guys are doing when they go on visit. What is that vehicle? What is that? That thing is sick. Like, does that ever leave the facility? Does it run? I need to see Coach like driving around town in that. This is badass. The screens behind him. Come on. I mean, this is next level. Siblings and stuff. Got some photos. More cars, bro. They're doing it right, man. They're doing it right. This is ridiculous. Really cool. And then you got like some basic kind of photos and things. But let's finish on more of like the props and deal. This is from Indiana. Just some stuff that I pulled up just today when I was looking around trying to find some things. Indiana apparently rock on over there with the Hoosiers because that guitar is badass. I doubt he plays. I don't know. I'm not going to assume. But that guitar is pretty sick. I don't know what the connection is. It's got to be something with their mantra or their kind of values over there. How about this like rogue sparkler thing behind him off to his left side there? That's funny. But yeah, the guitar is pretty badass. Again, I need to figure out what the tie-in is with that. But official visits, man. Now, it'll be really interesting to see, like, okay, what happens with small school football, right? We've seen a lot of teams embrace the photo shoots. Not a lot of video content because that does take a little bit more, not a little bit, it takes a lot more work from a creative content standpoint. But I think what we've seen is smaller schools trying to think outside of the box to get, a different result, but to be unique. Right, I think, and that's where small schools are not going to have the production value to do all these different things, but what they will have are these different concepts and ideas. Oshkosh is a great example. We did a little feature on them, how they take the kids out on pontoon boats out on the lake right next to campus, have them throw on a jersey, and you're out on the water. The photos were nothing special, but the experience and everything was really neat, and that's something that they were doing at the D3 level that was pretty cool. So embracing all the things that makes them unique and kind of putting their own spin on the official visits, I think we're going to have to see a lot more of that from small schools to really separate themselves. We've been seeing it forever. When you don't have athletic scholarships at the D3 level, you have to do other things to separate yourselves from the competition, and that typically comes in the form of facilities and other amenities for the student athletes, right? Division III teams compete with that in those terms all the time. So we'll see how this different arms race stacks up, if you will, but that's all we've got for this episode of Division I Rejects. For D1R, I've been Kobe Manzo. Thanks for tuning in.